Hey, Daniel here. If you're spending hours every week creating content for social media, either for yourself or for your clients, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to build an AI agent that's going to automate 80% of that work. I'm talking about carrying out deep research on a topic, crafting content specific to a platform in your brand's tone of voice. It can generate AI images, it can fetch stock photography, or you can upload your own images. It has the ability to publish to Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. All of this is controlled from WhatsApp. You can send it voice notes, you can send it text messages, you can even upload images and get those shared on social. We also have a Telegram version of this agent because WhatsApp Business can be a little tricky to set up. And the best part of this is you don't need to write a single line of code. We're using N8N and Make.com, which are two popular no-code platforms. Whether you're running your own AI automation agency, maybe it's a digital agency, or maybe you're just growing your own social presence, social media is a massive time sink. So with this system, you can cut down that time while still maintaining control. We've built in a human-in-the-loop system. It's called the Agent Safeguard. And that way, you have to explicitly approve each message that goes out on the social platforms. So by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge needed to be able to set up your own AI-powered assistant to manage your social platforms. That way you can focus your time on more important matters in your business. And if you're looking to skip the setup, then check out the link in the description to our community, the AI Automators, where you'll get access to this blueprint as well as all of our automation templates. All right, let me show you exactly what this AI agent can do. We'll start off with a quick voice note. Hey, could you carry out some research on the latest trends and news in the generative AI space? And then draft a few social posts with different angles, different hooks. So that has gone to WhatsApp. And now we're executing the workflow, as you can see here. It's gone to OpenAI's chat model, which is GPT-4o. It's hit our Google search, which also covers Google News as well. And this is WhatsApp desktop, and we're going to be able to see the output coming through here, as well as on my phone. And because it was a voice note that I sent, it's actually going to reply in voice as well. So we have text to speech. Okay, there we go. So let's see, we have financial industry trends, AI insights, which is Cloudflare radar. And here we have our draft social posts. So let's get it to actually go a bit deeper on this. That post to the Cloudflare radar, can you provide more details on that, please? So now we're going to be able to see the chat model use, the Gina AI Markdown feature. So it's fetched the Markdown of that page. And as I mentioned, it does provide text to speech.
I've gathered some of the latest news and trends in the generative AI space.
Okay, and here's the reply to that. Great, I think that's a really interesting stat. Let's write a Twitter post about that. Also, can you produce a really cool AI image for this? And then also check the stock library to see is there anything that could be useful here as well. Yeah, so you can have a back and forth with it as I've just done there. So that's using Flux 1.1 Ultra Pro. And then the stock image library is Pixabay. There's the Twitter post. Rapid ascendancy alert. DeepSeek makes its debut at 9th, goes to 3rd in 3 days. Cool. What we'll do is, because neither of these images are really working for me, I'm going to take a photograph on my phone, send it via WhatsApp, and let's use that image as what we post on social media. That way it's going to be way more authentic. Okay, so there's DeepSeek, and let's just take a photograph here. Okay, and I'm just going to send that image. Okay, so that's come in now. It's actually downloaded the image from WhatsApp, uploaded to a temporary server, and now it is gone to the agent. All right, so let's get it to actually publish this Twitter post now with my image that I just created. Okay, so now we're going to go down the publishing route. So you can see that's hit there, and now we've gone to request post into social, and I've just got a message from our agent safeguard. So this is the human in the loop feature. So we can see what is being proposed to be published on the platform. We can see the image, which is what I just created there. And then you can click on the following link to approve. And then it says the Twitter post is ready for publishing. So let's click on that. And now if we go to our Twitter profile, there you go. Rapid ascendancy alert, DeepSeek made its debut at 9th, soared to 3rd by January 29th. And it's making waves. And then we have the image that we just created. So that's a perfect end-to-end example of how you can actually even take a photo on your phone and get that pushed via WhatsApp up to Twitter. And then we can do the same here. So can you also share that on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook? Now, you might want to actually craft the content for the platform specifically, but just to show you how this works. Then that's going to go back into N8N, and it's going to trigger the request posting to social 3 different times. It's going to pass in the 3 different platforms, and off it goes. So this is using Make.com. I've got an automation running on Make. You can see that ran 3 times there. Our human in the loop is going to kick in 3 times as well, which it has. And that's looking to publish on Facebook, on Instagram, and LinkedIn. So let's approve all of these. And as you can see on Facebook, that has just been published. And let's check Instagram. Yeah, cool. There's our Instagram post as well. Excellent. So you've got full distribution to all of your social platforms. You can use your own images. You can use AI images, like stock images. It writes it in your own tone of voice. You can research news in your area. This thing does it all. So just think about how much time that could actually save you on a weekly basis, particularly if you're keeping up to date on your phone and you're getting news drip fed to you every minute. Anything that jumps out as interesting, you can just drop it in a voice note, take a quick photograph of something so it's quite authentic. It's going to write it in your tone of voice, and you can just distribute it everywhere. So you can really stay on top of your social platforms like this. If you'd like to get access to this agent blueprint, then check out the link in the description to our community, the AI Automators, where we have a full array of system templates, micro templates, agent tools, in-depth courses, active discussion boards, regular workshops, and more. For these system templates as well, there's full in-depth description on how you actually set these up. There's detailed setup instructions with screenshots, there's videos and the works. And then we also provide guidance on actually setting it up. If you run into problems, we try to help you out. So check out the link in the description. We'd love to see you here. So now that you've seen the demo, let's have a quick look at how it all is plumbed together. So here's a quick look at the architecture. As you've seen, the trigger here is WhatsApp. We also have a Telegram version of this. N8N, the system that it's built on, also has a chat interface too, so very cool. That's where the information is coming into the system. Then that goes straight into the social media agent, which is GPT-4o here. You could use any tool calling agent. As you saw, it can take text, it can take voice notes and images, and then it uses its various tools to kind of complete the tasks set out. So those tools then, you can carry out a Google search or a news search. You can fetch specific web pages, and you're getting it in Markdown format, which is exactly what the kind of large language models want. You can generate AI images. Here we're using Replicate, and that's a Flux 1.1 Pro. You can also fetch stock images using Pixabay, and then you can request the publication of that content to social media. And then after the agent completes its tasks with its tools, it then sends the response back to WhatsApp if that's how you triggered it, or back to Telegram or via N8N chat. So that's how it all works. It's not actually that complicated. Probably the most complicated part of it is the publication to social. And just to talk to that for a moment, this is the human in the loop feature that we built, because through testing AI agents over the last few months, they have the capacity to go off the rails, and you don't want to end up spamming your audience with 100 Facebook posts of the same thing. So instead, we've built this safeguard, and we've broken the process into two. So the agent only has the ability to request the publication of the content to social media. It can't actually do it itself. So that's what this first flow is on make.com. And then that triggers that WhatsApp message that you saw with a unique link. And by clicking on that unique link, it triggers another scenario in make.com, which is your approval scenario. So this is actually what publishes on social media. The AI agent has no view of this, so it can't accidentally click a link here. It doesn't see it. So it's totally safe to actually run it like this. And then what this flow does, it kind of works its way through a series of routers to figure out what platform this post is to be published on. As you can see there, this was one I tested earlier, and that's a really cool AI image of DeepSeek and AI. And this is the workflow on N8N, where the actual AI agent is defined. And it's exactly what you saw in the high-level diagram. So we have our trigger area here. This is the WhatsApp trigger. I'll go through this in more detail at the end of the video. You can also have a chat trigger. So if you click on chat here, you can converse with your agent. Then the main logic of this agent is here. So we have our tools calling agent that's connected to a model. It has memory, and then these are the various tools that I've already gone through. So it carries out the work, and then it works through the response. If it's WhatsApp, it goes through this myriad of nodes to be able to spit it out as needed. If it's a chat response, it just does it there. When it comes to the tools, these two are quite simple tools on N8N. This is an N8N workflow just with two nodes. That one's easy. Generate AI image with Replicate, and then request post into social is also on make.com. If I jump into the last execution of this scenario, and just zoom in, you can see here that we got a request type, which was a request to create a LinkedIn image and text post. This was the text message, and then this is the image URL. And what we do then is we've locked down this scenario so that only we can actually post to this. And then all we're doing is we're adding it to a data store with the unique key. And we're sending that on WhatsApp with that key to say, click this link. And then if you click it, it's going to trigger this scenario. And you can see it comes down this track. We have our key. We check to make sure the key exists and it hasn't already been published. So that's a nice kind of safety mechanism. And then we can see this is LinkedIn. We can see it was an image and text request. So we get the file, or we get the image. We upload that image as well as create the LinkedIn post, which you can see there. We update the data store so that we can tell you that this post has now been created, so you can't accidentally trigger it again. And finally, we reach back out on WhatsApp to say the LinkedIn post has been published. So that's what this scenario does. Like, it's simple when you look at a single track. It looks quite confusing with all of the modules, but effectively, these ones are for Twitter, these ones are LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and there's different types of posts. So this could be expanded out to include video posts, for example. So that's a view of the system and of the different make.com blueprints. Let's now build it up from scratch, and you can see how this can take shape very quickly. So we'll come into N8N here, and let's call this our live build, our social media agent. So the first node we need to add is a trigger. So we'll just set this as a chat trigger. And then that means if we click chat down here, we can actually have a conversation with it. Hi, for example. Now, there's no AI LLM attached to this, so it won't do anything. Next up then, we need to add an AI agent. So if we just go into AI agent. So you have a few different options of agents. We're going to use a tools agent because we want the agent to trigger the right tool at the right time. So we'll click on that. For the moment, we'll set the source as the chat trigger, and that can be the message as well. So let's leave it at that. And then if we zoom in here, you'll see that we have options for a chat model, for memory, and for tools. So first things first, let's just add memory. That's the easy one. So we have Windows buffer memory. Then in terms of a chat model, if we click on this, we're going to use GPT-4o. As I mentioned, and you can see down the side here, you have lots of options for language models. So we'll just click OpenAI. Here you can set credentials. I already have a few set up here. You can click create new credential. And if you do, then this pop-up loads and you can drop in API keys. And I won't go through that here. If you click on Open Docs, that'll give you all the information that you need to set that up. It's pretty straightforward. So for the moment, I'll just choose OpenAI and I'll set GPT-4o. Okay, so that's that. We'll move this one over here. We have our memory. So now if we click into the agent again, then under options, you can add an option. So here we're going to set a system message. So this is where you're instructing the agent on what to do. So we're saying you are a highly skilled social media agent for the AI automators. Your task is to assist with social media related queries. I'm providing then the list of available tools. It already has this because once you hook them up, it's going to fetch the tool name and description. But at the same time, it's no harm reiterating what these tools are and how they should be called in terms of like a standard operating procedure. I then provide a tone of voice kind of writing style guidelines. So this is how you can get the LLM to write in your own tone. Now, it's not perfect. There are better ways of doing this. You could have a sub agent, which could be a writer, and then that could have chain of thought style generation of text in your tone of voice. But this isn't too bad. It's good prompt engineering. So you provided the guidelines, always good to give it examples as well. So it's a few shot kind of prompt, conversational and relatable, confident but approachable, first person, short and punchy, etc. And then we jump into a task standard operating procedure. So we're saying to address the user's request, follow these steps. So analyze the request, determine the course of action. Then finally, current date and time. Yes, we need to provide the current date and time because these agents do not know. So if you ask for the latest news, it'll be from when their training was up last year. So if you click on the plus and then if you just type in date, you'll see date time, get current date, drop that there. And then, yeah, if we come back into this system message now, actually, because we're using this kind of JSON current date, it can't be set as fixed. It needs to be an expression. And then if we do that, yeah, now we have our pop-up. So and maybe let's just save it and we'll just run it. So we just said, hi, no session ID found. Oh yeah, so within N8N, when you see $JSON, it's only referring to the last node. So under session ID, if you just click define below, for the moment, just type in anything there, click save. Yeah, we have a problem with our prompt as well. So okay, let's, source for prompt then is defined below. Just type in anything there as well. I just want to get the variables loaded into memory. So click hi again. Now we're doing something. Excellent. So we can double click this. So we now need to set our prompt because we added a node in between the chat trigger and this. So we'll change this to expression. And now if we click on, let me see, schema, and then we have text, you can then drag in the input. So we have chat input, which is hi. You can see that's what I added in the chat history below. And then that's what's going to drop in as the text. And then we can do the same here. So if we come down to the buffer memory, and then for the key, delete out that rubbish, go back to schema, go to mapping. Yeah, you can see your session ID. So that's what we're going to drop in there, session ID. And that's important for the memory because it needs to be able to track the conversation history based off a key or based off an ID. Okay, so I think we're in good shape here. We have our date and time, which we now actually need to add to the system template, the system message. So we'll come down to here, we have current date and time, and you can see that up there. So it's really nice how you can kind of drag and drop these variables in N8N. So now we have current date and time, and that's going to pick it up from here. The session ID is loaded into the memory. The chat input is loaded into the text for this tool calling agent. Excellent. So so now if you click this reset button, what that does is it kind of reloads the session ID, which you can see there. So we'll just say, hello, how are you? Then that's going to go to the tools calling agent. It's going to hit GPT-4o, and then it's going to come back with a response and load all of that into memory so that it actually knows what we're talking about if we have follow-up questions. So for example, my name is Daniel. So it's loaded into memory. So what's my name? Your name is Daniel. So it's able to track that conversation history. So we now need to add some tools. So for carrying out searches, there are a few different services you can use. Like even if you just type into tools here, Google search, you'll see SERP API as an option. If you go to SERP API, you'll see it is actually quite expensive. You get 100 searches a month on the free plan. But if you're using this at a reasonable frequency, you're going to hit that fairly quickly. And then you're into $75 a month. So instead, we use Data for SEO. Data for SEO is a great platform. It just has a ton of kind of data sets and services like fetching Google search results. So I'll leave a link for Data for SEO in the description below. So let me remove this SERP API. There is no Data for SEO tool. So you need to use the HTTP request tool, which you'll use a lot, I suppose, in N8N if you're calling external services. Okay, so for this tool then, let's just rename it Google Search and Use via Data for SEO. So we'll rename that. And then we'll put in the description. So this tool allows you to query the Data for SEO platform to fetch Google search results. So we want to post to this endpoint. And if you go to, let me just log into Data for SEO here. Data for SEO have a great API playground where you can actually trigger calls in their interface. So let's say here we want to fetch Google News, location is Ireland, and even you can pass in, latest in AI. And then if you trigger the request, you can see it loads up here on the right-hand side, and there's the results. But then if you look at the code example, it gives you the actual sample code that you need to pass. So this is the raw data. So that's what you need to bring into your N8N module. And then it's also provided the endpoint. So that's the URL that you would paste in here, for example. Now this one is specific to news. I'd prefer to have this tool actually to be able to call the organic kind of search results as well as the news search results. So there's a great trick in N8N, which is you can put in these placeholders. So if you just even copy out that placeholder there and drop it in here, and we'll say this is the type of Google search we want to carry out. Is it organic or is it news? And then with that then, down here we have placeholder definitions. So if you click add a definition, the placeholder here is type, and then the description you're setting is this must be organic or news. So you're given it two options. The type is going to be a string, it's going to be text. But you're saying, yeah, what's in this URL, it has to either say organic or news, depending on the user's request and the context. So then that way we can hit two different endpoints with this one tool, which is a nice trick. Then in terms of authentication, I have already set up authentication for this. You can see it here. So authorization is basic, and then there's your base 64 key. But you can put in your API login there and your password here. And then if you trigger it, it'll actually load up your key there, which you can copy in. So that's a nice way of doing it. So, okay, I'll just choose generic credential type. These are all header auths where you're passing, let's say, authorization, and it could be a bearer token. And then from here, you would click create new credential, and then you can load it in there. Again, I've already set this, so let me get out of that. So I have my Data for SEO header auth. We do want to send a body then as well. So we'll choose JSON as the body type. And then what we're doing is we're going to copy in this raw body here like that. And then you'll see keyword latest in AI. So we don't want to hard code the actual search term. So if we just delete that, and again, back to this idea of placeholders. So if you use curly brackets, then you can do search term, and then you can add another definition, which is search term. And then you can just, then it's important to pass kind of a descriptive sentence. So this is the search term to pass into Google search. And then here I'm just saying only list the topic to be searched. And I've even provided an example, which you can kind of see there. So yeah, that's the description. Again, this is going to be text, so it'll be a string. And I think we're good to go on that one. So let's save it. Nope. You don't have access to the credentials. I need to move this into a different project. Okay, so I've just moved this workflow now into the project that actually has that credential saved. So that's just a bit of access control on N8N. Okay, let's test it out. So let's ask latest news in AI in the US. So we'll press enter to that, and then you can see it's now gone to the Data for SEO endpoint. If you double click it, you can see the search term that was passed on the left. You can see it's gone to news, so it's looking for that news endpoint. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the full response from data for SEO, and then that's what's going to form the basis for the LLM's output. Cool, so latest news in AI, and there you can see DeepSeek's arrival. That's brilliant, yeah, that works very well. Let's test it out with a more kind of organic search as opposed to news. So yeah, check Google to see what are the types of multi-agent systems. So that shouldn't hit the news endpoint. And double click it, there you go, it's past organic, so it's hit that different URL. So yeah, that's worked out very nicely. The problem now is we might need kind of more detail around the news stories. So again, if you look back up here, there's links to the BBC and the Guardian, but we can't, through Google search, actually access that information. So we need a way of, let's say, having the agent essentially click that link. And a really good trick on this, let me just show you the URL here. So that is the URL of this news story. If you put in https or.gina.ai and then /, it runs through the Gina AI server to actually output Markdown. So it basically strips out all of the HTML, anything that would kind of throw off an LLM in trying to understand what's on this page and what this article is about. And it provides a huge amount of really rich text for the LLM to use. So that's just a really great trick. So it's possible to then use that here. And if you click on the tool, again, we're going to create another tool. This one is still HTTP request. And then under URL, then we want to put in that or.gina.ai, and we'll give it a name. It's really important to name the tools and provide detailed descriptions, because this is how the agent knows how to use the tools. So click rename there, give it a nice description. So fetch web page Markdown via Gina, useful for getting details of a web page. Then this is a get call. And what we're going to do here is, again, use a placeholder definition. So just type in your curly brackets and just say this is URL. And then down below here, I'm going to put in URL, and they're going to give that a nice description. So this is the URL to be accessed via Gina to extract the page's Markdown. Again, that's going to be a string. For Gina, you don't need to pass it authentication. You can though. So if you go to Gina.ai, and if you go to their reader feature, you'll see that there are rate limits around using that get method without an API key. So you can only have 20 requests per minute. If you do have an API key, you get up to 200 requests a minute. So I do recommend doing it. So I've just created a new credential and I've added in that bearer token there. So that way I'll be able to get the higher rate limit. Okay, so let's test it out. Tell me more about the AI in music story. So yeah, there it's gone. Perfect. Yeah, this is a listicle, and there's the 10 different music AI tools. Okay, nice. So let's move on to image generation. So let's say we wanted to do a Twitter post or something about, music AI generation. Let's see, can we fetch a stock image, or can we generate an AI image? So we'll add another tool. Again, another HTTP call. So we'll name this one fetch stock image. And we'll say call this tool to fetch a stock image. The input should be a search term, keep it concise. So we're going to use Pixabay. And with Pixabay's API, it's actually a GET request. So let's open her up here. There's the API documentation. I'll leave a link for this in the description as well, where you can log in and get an API key. So Pixabay actually has authentication in query parameters, which isn't ideal from a security perspective, but we can set all of that up here. So I'll just set key. I'll add that in a second. Then there's Q, which is their query. So that's going to be a search term. So actually, let's do that here. Yeah, the key I'll provide in a minute. Q is a search term. That's going to be a query we're passing. Then let's go add parameter again. The next one is per page. So how many results do you want back for the query? We'll just set that at, let's say, 5 for the moment. Then image type, we're just going to set this to photo. So then, yeah, Q is the query parameter. So then let's come down to placeholder definitions. It's actually not massively obvious here. So what I'll do is Q is the query parameter we need to pass. We'll just set this as using the field below, and I'll put in a placeholder. So this is the search term. And then that can be in the placeholder definition. And then this can be search term to reflect the user's query. And again, that can be string. So I think we're good to go. I'll just add in the API key off camera. Okay, and let's test it out. So can you fetch a relevant stock image for this? All right, it's gone, and let's see what it's come back with. And yeah, we do have something back from Pixabay. Let's have a look. Oh, cool, that's worked. There we go. Here's a relevant stock image that captures the essence of AI in music. And then there is the full image. Nice. Don't know why it reflects AI in music. I think it might just be music, but anyway, you can see that works. So next up, we need to give the agent an ability to generate AI images. We use replicate.com a lot on this channel. It's a great service. And they also have a Flux 1.1 Pro Ultra, which you can see here. So let's set up a tool that can hit this API and generate images that we can send back to our agent. So we'll come back in here. Let's click the request tool. So yeah, we do actually have this in make.com from our last video. Replicate.com uses an asynchronous API call. So you actually have to poll to get a response. But I think they have a blocking version, which I've found here. So maybe let's try to set this up in N8N so we don't need to set up a scenario on Make. Yeah, that's what you need to pass in the headers, prefer wait, and then it waits. That's excellent. So let's try this on N8N. So we have a HTTP request node. All right, let's call this one Generate AI Image. And then we'll rename that. This tool allows an agent to generate an AI image with Flux 1.1 Pro Ultra. So we're going to post to this endpoint. And then this is the URL we're going to hit. Is the predictions URL of here. And you can see this actually with the API. Yeah, there you go. So you get your URL here. Yeah, let's get these headers set up. So send headers. These are the headers below. I'm going to set this as wait. Content type is JSON, that's fine. Authorization will pass that as our standard header auth. So authentication, generic credential type, header auth. We don't have it there, so let's set up replicate. Okay, we have our replicate header auth set up. I just did that off camera. So we're sending in prefer. We don't need that one. Let's get rid of that. Then we do need to send a body, which is going to be JSON, and then that will pass the application JSON content type, I believe. So let's then just send this in. Use JSON below, just send that in straight away, and let's try it. So we won't put anything dynamic in there yet. Start a chat, which is generate an image of a goat. Okay, it's hit there. And let's see, there was a problem with the request. 401 is unauthorized, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, so there's a problem with the header auth. Yeah, I had the key set up wrong, so let's try it again. Generate an image of a goat. Okay, and here we go. We got something back. Is there an image in here? There might be. Now, status is starting. Yeah, that's not waiting. We do need it to wait, so let's see what's going on. Okay, I think that's worked. I had wait with a capital W. I think it just needed to be a lowercase w, but that's taken time to respond, which is good because it takes time to generate an image. And yeah, that might have done it now. Output, there we go. There's the JPEG. Let's open it up. Perfect. Now, there's no goat there because I don't have anything dynamic in here. So let's get this set up properly. So I'll change it to expression. And then the prompt needs to be, again, curly brackets, image prompt. And actually, aspect ratio, let's do this too, because different social platforms need different aspect ratios for their images. So aspect ratio. Okay, brilliant. So that's that. Set as an expression, and we'll add 2 placeholder definitions. So for aspect ratio, we're going to say populated with 16 by 9, 9 by 16, or 1 by 1. For image prompt, populated with the relevant detailed image prompt. It's going to be a string and a string. So now let's try it. Generate an image of a goat. Let's go on to replicate. Here's an AI image of a goat. That's a mountain range. This one will be. And there we go. Excellent. So we are in business. And then of those 4 tools, every one of them is on N8N, which is great. So for this last one, we are going to use make.com. The reason for this, if you right click add node and put in Facebook, for example, it uses GraphQL, the Graph API. Instagram uses this as well. It is horrific to use. It is so complicated. It's not really suited to a no-code platform. I know N8N is a low-code platform. Even still, we have set up graph endpoints on these and it's just terrible. So I just find it a lot easier to use the Make kind of native modules. So if you look at this blueprint that we have here, these are all native modules and they're pretty easy to set up. Twitter's probably the hardest, but that's more with API keys and stuff. The LinkedIn one's very easy. Instagram one and Facebook one, it's straightforward. There's a bit of messing to do in terms of connecting your Facebook account to your Instagram account with this, but it is more straightforward. So what we'll do now is we're going to hook up this publication request flow. I'm not going to build the whole thing out here the way I'm doing it on N8N, but instead I'll go through each module and explain how it's set up so that you can replicate it all on your side. So if I click on HTTP request tool, we're going to call this one request posting to social. So we want to post to this endpoint, and this is going to be a make.com kind of webhook that's attached to a scenario. Alan has a great video on how to build AI agents with human in the loop. So that's this pattern of a request scenario and an approval scenario using the likes of Telegram or WhatsApp to have that approval link. I'll leave a link for this video in the description below. He goes through this in great detail. This will provide the information you need on how to actually set up this kind of structure. So for this tool then, I need this webhook URL. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to drop that in there. One thing that we do a lot in our scenarios on make.com is we put in API keys for our webhooks. You can kind of see that here, where after the webhook, it hits a router. And then if the API key is correct, it goes down a success track. And if it's not correct, it goes down a failure track. The reason for this is in make.com, webhooks are public. You know, a standard GET request is able to actually trigger the webhook. So even if I do this here, copy address to the clipboard, if I open this up, you'll see actually it says API key incorrect, which is brilliant. That normally says accepted. And that's a problem because anyone that has your URL can then trigger your scenario and possibly cost you money if there's API calls, LLM calls, possibly post to your social media. So you need to lock down your make.com webhook scenarios. And that's how we do it. So within N8N then, because we're calling make from N8N, we're passing this header, this authorization key. And I have that set here for my make.com webhook. And all it is just authorization is the key. We're passing a value. That could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It shouldn't be. That should be, a 30, 40, 50 character secure key. Use LastPass or something to generate something unique. And then you can set that there, and you can catch it then on the other side in these filters. So this is an example of that filter where you could have your highly secure key that you set on N8N, and then you have it here, and that's where you're actually carrying out the comparison. So that condition looks a little bit complicated. You can pause the video there if you want to actually grab it, but yeah, it's basically looking for that authorization key in the headers. Okay, so then what else do we need on N8N for this? So we're hitting the webhook, we're passing the auth key. We then need to send a body. So this is all about what you want to actually post to social media. So firstly, there's a request type, which is what platform is it? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Secondly, we're going to have a post type. So is it just a standard text post? Is it an image post with a caption? Is it a video post? Next up is the message. So if it is a text message, what is the text? What is the caption, etc.? And then if it's an image post, what is the image URL? So then for each of those keys, because the model is going to actually populate those out, you need to provide some instructions on what they need to actually do. So for image URL, for example, if an image has been posted, the URL will go here. That is going to be a string. For a text message, that's the text to post to the platform. Again, it's going to be a string. For post type, so this needs to be either text or image and text, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. And finally, request type. So this needs to be one of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And actually back up here, this image URL is optional because if they're only passing text, then it doesn't need to be filled out. Everything else does though. Brilliant. So let's save this now. I'll come in here and I'm just going to set a filter so that I can't pass this path, just so that I want to show you this in action. So we've saved that. So I'm going to say post the goat to social, and we'll say Twitter. Okay, so it's going to hit this. Yeah, and it has. And then it's come in here and it's already loaded up. So let's have a look. Request type is Twitter, post type image and text. Check out this amazing image of a goat, and there's the image URL. Perfect. We have our header as well that has been passed, which is why we're going down this track. Okay, so next up then, we're setting the publication webhook. So this is the webhook of the approval scenario. Again, follow Alan's video on how to set up this human in a loop. This is the webhook we're passing in the WhatsApp message to actually approve and publish the social post. So then we have a data store set up where we actually save this information so that we can pull it down when we're approving and publishing. So we're saving the Twitter post, status is set as pending approval. We're setting a timestamp so that we can actually expire these requests after a certain amount of time. And then we're passing different parameters. So we're passing the post type, the text message, and the image URL. So basically, whatever we're getting from N8N, we're saving in make.com's database here, or a data store. And then we're sending a message on WhatsApp to the approver, the person who actually is going to be clicking the button. And we're saying, this is the agent safeguard. We've received a request to publish this Twitter post. Here's the details, and click the link to approve. And that link, sorry, you can't see any of that. There you go. I'll zoom in as well. So click the link to approve, and that's the publication webhook of the approval scenario with the unique key. And all of this is saved in the database. So when someone clicks that link, we can fetch it from the database. That's all that message is. It's just your approval kind of message on WhatsApp. That could be swapped out for Gmail. That could be swapped out for Telegram. Whatever way you want to achieve your human in the loop feature, it's like two-factor authentication. You just need to click a link somewhere else. So that could be slotted in there. And then in terms of a webhook response, then we're just saying the request for publication of the Twitter post has been received. Check your WhatsApp to approve. So that's all that scenario is. And now if we remove this filter, click save, and then let's run once. And now I'm just going to say post it again. It's going to hit our request posting to social. And now that's going to show up, there we go, on WhatsApp. There you go. We've received a request to publish a Twitter post. Here's an adorable goat to brighten your day. And there's the image. So the reason that WhatsApp message came through straight away is because I have the WhatsApp connection set on make.com already. So because we're using WhatsApp to trigger everything in this kind of system, you need to set up WhatsApp both in N8N and in make.com. In terms of a trigger though, the triggers are coming into N8N, and the responses are going out of N8N, but messages can also be sent from Make, as you can see here. Okay, so we now have our agent safeguard triggering the human in the loop message. We now need the approval scenario, i.e. this link here, to do something. So if we come into our approval scenario now, and what we'll do is, let's just zoom in here. I'm putting a blocker so that we can just see the message come in. I'll click run once here, and now I'm going to click the link in this WhatsApp message, this approval link. Okay, so that has just come through, and you can see it's passed the key that we can now fetch the data that we stored here in the data store, because we set a key, a random number, to save all of this information. So now we've got that key and we can now fetch it from the data store. So I'll remove this filter now. We're setting phone numbers, that's used for WhatsApp. We're checking the existence of the key in the data store just to make sure it exists, because if it doesn't, what's the point? Yeah, and if it doesn't, then we're actually going down to WhatsApp here to essentially say we can't find the post in our data store that you're trying to publish. So then if the key does exist in the data store, we're going to get that record based on the key. So let's put the filter in here now. So 1 = 0 there. It is gone from there. So let's run this again. We'll click our link again on WhatsApp, and now it's come up here. So now you can see that this module has fetched the data from the database or the data store on make.com. So it's pending approval. That's the timestamp, image and text, an adorable goat to brighten your day, and there's the goat image. Request type is published Twitter post. So again, another router down here, which essentially says if the status isn't anything other than pending approval, reject it. Whereas here, if the status is pending approval, proceed. So you can see those filters are there, not equal to pending approval. And the message here is, if it's not equal to pending approval, it means it's already been published. So you're trying to publish a post that was already published. No action has been taken. Okay. We'll move our filter up. So now we're going to get through to this router, and it's based on then what platform do you want to publish to? Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. So if it's Twitter, for example, so you can see the request type here is publish Twitter post. So then if the request type equals publish Twitter post, which it does, it's going to go up this track. But it's not going to go down any of the other tracks because it doesn't equal publish LinkedIn post, it doesn't equal publish Instagram post, etc. So it'll bring it up here, and then it's checking to see what's the post type. Is it a text post or is it an image and text post? And that's what we set here. So you could see if I jump into this, the post type that we passed was image and text because it's the picture of the goat and the text. So that's the track then, that's the filter once we get up to the Twitter area, which is it's not just a standard tweet, it's an image and a tweet. So it comes down this track. And from here, then we're getting the file. So we're actually in make.com, we're downloading the URL of the image. So let's put in the filter there, and I've removed it there, yeah. So let's run it, and we'll hit our link again. Okay, and it's come to here now, and you can see that parameter 3, it's actually got the goat image, and it's loaded it into memory. That's all this binary, because that's what you need to send to Twitter when you're uploading an image. So let's remove the filter now. So then we're uploading an image. Again, you need to set your connections for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn within this scenario. But from there, then you're uploading the image, you're attaching the file that was just downloaded there, and then we're going to the next node or the next module, and we're publishing the text content. Parameter 2 is the text message. We're associating the media IDs of what we just uploaded here, and that's it. And from there, then we're updating the data store, and we're sending a message on WhatsApp just to say your tweet has been published. We have published the tweet. In terms of updating the data store, all we're doing is we're updating based off the key, and we're just saying approved. It's been published. Therefore, it can't be published again because it's set as approved. Okay, let's run this now finally, and let's publish a picture of a goat to our Twitter account. And there you go, it's uploaded the image. I just got a notification on WhatsApp there. There's the text, and it's updated the data store. So let's go to Twitter and refresh, and there's our goat. Delete quickly. So that's how it works. Now, interestingly, let's click it again, right? So I'll click run once, click the link again, and there you go. It's now gone down this track, and it's saying, if I open up the WhatsApp, you're trying to publish a Twitter post that was already published, so no action has been taken. So that way you can't accidentally trigger kind of republication on the platforms via those links in WhatsApp. If you need help setting up these connections, check out our deep dive channel, Deep Dive with the AI Automators. Alan has created walkthroughs on how to set all of these up. So for example, Twitter, that's the Twitter one, this is the Facebook one, this is the Instagram one, yeah, there's the LinkedIn one. And that way you can pretty much build out this kind of, it looks like a complex scenario, it's somewhat complex, but I think once you kind of walk through the way I did, it starts to make a bit more sense. If you want access to this blueprint, check out the link in the description to our community where you can download it. All right, so maybe let's run this again and let's test out publishing this goat now to all of our platforms. So we'll come back in here, let me zoom out. Please publish this to Instagram. Okay, that's triggered the agent safeguard, which you can see there. So if I click that link, and now it's come in and it's gone down the Instagram track, Let's create in the photo post, and let's update the data store, and let's come into Instagram, refresh, and there's our goat. Okay, delete it. Let's go again, and to LinkedIn, and to Facebook. So this will give us human in the loop notifications. We'll click that link, and there we go. There's the picture of the goat on LinkedIn. Excellent, yeah, let's get rid of that one as well. And finally, Facebook. So let's click through on our Facebook link, which is that one. I forgot to press run once, so we won't be able to follow it on that, but there we are. I've already seen the goat. Beautiful. So there you go. That's how you post images and text to all the various platforms using this AI agent. Obviously, it would be better if it was something a little bit more relevant than a goat, but anyway. So at this point now, we have our AI agent working perfectly using N8N chat, which is what you can see here. Also, if you double click there and make the chat publicly available, now set some authentication as well, otherwise everyone's going to be posted on your social media. Open it up, and there you go. You now have your very own AI agent chatbot. So we'll save that. So then the question is, how do you hook this up to WhatsApp? So there's quite a lot of modules actually in the triggering and the responses. As opposed to building it out here, I might just walk through the full scenario here. I'll go through each module and explain what's happening in each so that you can kind of build this out yourself. You can download the blueprint in our community, as I mentioned. So let's just jump into it here. So the first thing we have is a WhatsApp trigger. There's full details on how to actually set up WhatsApp with N8N for triggers and responses. The trigger requires their OAuth. The responses requires their API. There's different client IDs and access tokens. It's a bit involved. So I'll leave a link for the setup document in the description below as well. But once you actually get up and running with that, you can select your credential and then you can say trigger on, and you want to trigger on messages. Let's test this out. So if I click test workflow, waiting for trigger event, and if I come in here and I say hi, yep, so there you go, that's just triggered. So the second thing we do is we filter the WhatsApp events. So if you double click on the trigger, you don't have a huge amount of options here on what it triggers on. Messages is the only one that is relevant. The problem with that though is a whole host of WhatsApp events comes through with messages such as read receipts, delivery receipts, etc. We only actually want the message. So there's a need to filter out those messages. And that's what we're doing here. We're just saying if that node exists, allow it to flow through. Whereas if it doesn't, just stop the scenario there. And that's what's happening. If it's false, nothing happens. If it's true, it continues. So next up, we have a switch. So if the message type is text, it's going to output here. If the message type is audio or image, it will output there and there. And then you end up with different tracks that you can build off a workflow. So if it's a standard text message, it just sets the message there. So if it's an audio type of message we receive from WhatsApp, we go through a flow of getting the file or getting a URL to download the file at least. And that's what's set here, the audio ID. And by all means, pause as you go if you need to take track of what variables are and stuff like that. And from there, we download that voice note or that media kind of URL to N8N's memory, which is just using the download node. I did find that I had to set my access token here in the headers. I couldn't get that working any other way, and I had to set this user agent as well. So just take a note of that. And that's not the full access token, so I'm not too worried about it being showing on screen. And then from there, then we now have the data, the binary data of the voice note that we can then send to OpenAI to transcribe that recording. So we're just passing in data, which is the variable name effectively. And we're using the audio resource, transcribe a recording. And then from there, we just set the message again. So this is where all of the workflows kind of merge. If it's a text message, it'll be set here. If it's an audio message, it'll be transcribed and set here. If it's an image, we're actually going to use the Vision API to figure out what's in the image and set it here. So this is a nice way of merging all of those nodes together. Back to our switch then, yeah, if it's an image, we're doing a lot here, but this works really well. So firstly, we're getting the file, same as the voice note from WhatsApp. I'll open it up. So it's the image ID is the media ID. We're then downloading that file as binary to N8N, same as before. We're then uploading it to a temporary server. The reason I needed to do this is because I wanted the ability to take a photo with my phone and have that photo be published on the social platforms. And to do that, it needs to be available at a publicly accessible URL. And there's no easy way of doing this. So I ended up signing up to uploadcare.com because they have a free tier and they can handle up to 10,000 operations a month. So within this node then, what I'm doing is I'm uploading that binary data of the image that I just sent on WhatsApp to UploadCare. You can see there, and then you also need to pass in your API key or your publication key, and that's passed as form data as well. So that's the upload care. And then the next node is I actually download the image again from WhatsApp. So I'm getting the URL here. I download it once, upload it to upload care. I haven't found a way in N8N to reuse the binary data after a node. So I haven't been able to, for example, in this module, use this data. I might be missing a trick. Please let me know in the comments if I am. But what I've done is I've just downloaded it again. And then in the OpenAI node, I'm analyzing the image and I'm passing in the binary data. The other thing I'm saying is what's in this image, but also you must include the following URL, and that's the uploadcare.com URL. And then that would be in the chat history. So then when I say to the agent, upload the image I just took, it'll actually have the publicly accessible URL of that image. So a bit of a hack, but it works. So then in this kind of merger node, if you click into set message, we have a couple of different kind of operators. We have a ternary operator and a logical OR operator. So the user message is either what's set at the text stream, what's set at the audio stream, or what's set at the image stream. So that's what's happening there. By all means, pause and have a look at that if you need to. And then the fallback is, if none of those, then it's this one. Probably not needed actually, because it has to be one of those three. And then you can see there, the result is hi. And the second thing is I'm setting a modal. So just to understand, is this an image, a text, or an audio? And then that's what this ternary operator is. So it's basically, you know, if this text exists, it's audio. Otherwise, if this exists, it's an image. Otherwise, it's text. So check out ternary operators if you're not sure about any of that, because there's a little bit to learn there in terms of expressions and these operators. Next up then, we've already seen get date and time. I have a node here to set a session ID, and the reason for that is the Windows buffer memory. You saw that I set the session ID from the chat. The problem with that is within a WhatsApp trigger, there is no session ID from the chat. So you need to set your own WhatsApp session ID. I just set it to my phone number because this is going to be a single person in contact with the agent. But the reason I do it in a node here is I can handle if it's WhatsApp or if it's N8N chat. So then, yeah, you've seen the agent do its thing. And then out the back then, to render out the response, firstly, we're just checking to see was WhatsApp triggered. This is a brilliant function. So you can pass in the name of a node and then you can just ask, is it triggered? And this avoids N8N throwing errors where nodes haven't been executed. So if WhatsApp has been triggered, it goes down this WhatsApp response track. Whereas if it hasn't been triggered, it goes down here. If it hasn't been triggered, it means it's actually N8N chat that's triggered all of this. So you can just output a response. You need to output something, so I just outputted a code node. So then if it is WhatsApp response, we go through to another if. If it's not equal to audio, then go down this track. Whereas if it is equal to audio, go down this track, because I want to respond to voice notes with a voice audio. And so if someone drops a voice note into the WhatsApp, it's going to come down this track and actually generate audio from the text that the LLM generated. So that's what's happening here. And you can see we're using the TTS1HD, the Alloy voice. You can choose a voice. And then we're passing in the social media agent's output, which is the text. And then we're setting AAC as the response format. So once OpenAI generates that text to speech, we then upload that file to WhatsApp servers, because that's then what we're going to send in response. So that's what's happening there. And once it's uploaded, we then send the audio, and then we also send the text message. So that's pretty much what's happening here is the same as what's happening there. So at this point, we've actually sent the response. But if we're sending images, it's nice to actually be able to push those images through like that. So we need to build out a bit more logic here around extracting the URLs from the message. I could have used regex here, but instead I just passed it into a GPT-4o Mini just to ask it to extract out the URLs, so a bit lazy. And then from there, I'm splitting them out because there might be multiple URLs in an image. So yeah, it splits it out based off the image URLs. That's extracted from here. It sends the image then on WhatsApp, and then it aggregates it down. It closes that array or that loop, and then it just finishes at that point. I appreciate I went through that pretty fast. There's probably a video explainer needed just to actually set this up properly end to end, because there's quite a lot in it. As I mentioned, if you'd like to get access to these blueprints, check out the link in the description to our community, the AI Automators, where you'll be able to download this system template. We also have lots of agent templates, multi-agent teams. We have huge amounts of automations for blogging, for social media, RAG systems, everything. We have this really cool area around agent tools that we're building out at the moment, where you can plug in these tools into agents, so you don't need to go through the process of actually coding all of this stuff out. Just plug in a tool and away you go. Then we also have very active discussion boards. We run live workshops, and we also have in-depth courses where you can really level up your AI automation skills, such as a Make.com masterclass, no-code web scraping masterclass. So a huge amount of value in this. Check out the link in the description. We'd love to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.